The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Pega 7, ROI for business and ease of use of IT. And our guest speakers today is Gauri Shankarpati. He's the BPM practice lead with Virtusa. Gauri Shankar is an associate director, is a seasoned IT leader with more than 18 years of industry experience, including 8 years of experience in managing PRPC implementations. He joined Virtusa in April 2002, after which he was in the US for majority of the time, serving global clients like EMC Corporation, Bank One, and JP Morgan Chase. While he was working at JP Morgan Chase for one of the assignment, his relationship with the client was instrumental in Virtusa winning the SCURM project from ITRM department. Gauri was an entrepreneur for 3 years and a co-founder of Incessant Technologies, an IT service provider of end-to-end BPM implementation on PRPC platform. At Incessant, Gauri managed delivery, operations, and competency development and grew the company to strength of more than 100 employees. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Gauri.
Thank you, Aradhana. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to TechGig session by Virtusa. I'm Gauri Shankar. I'm responsible for BPM competency development, technical delivery assurance, pre-sales activities, people aspects at BPM practice of Virtusa. Let me introduce my colleagues. We will also join me today on this webinar. Venkat is our Pega lead business architect. He will cover Federated case management and DCO from functional point of view. I also have another colleague, Shivram Bhopati. He is our Pega knowledge champion and the BPM enablement lead. He will demonstrate today DCO and stage-based case management features along with the data modeling. In today's session, for the next 1 hour, I and my colleagues are going to talk about how Pega 7 is built to generate higher ROI for business by improving the time to market and bringing in operational efficiencies. Also, how the developers will benefit from simplified and exhaustive features of Pega 7 that is the building of BPM application. We will cover how case management features are incorporated into Pega 7 and how business and IT can benefit out of it. You are able to see the second slide, right? The following other topics will be covered during this webinar session: Pega 7 ROI for business, stage-based case management, direct capture of objectives, data modeling, high availability, and multi-tenancy. Pega 7 ROI for business. Pega Systems has built a comprehensive and intelligent BPM suite in the form of Pega 7 that helps business to generate higher ROI. Pega Systems BPM suite provides a lot of rich features for both business users and the developer community. Pega 7 has a capability of building solutions with a business focus. Let us all of us understand what we mean by it. To start with, tracking and achieving business objectives of a program is the prime purpose of business representatives. Pega 7 helps the business representatives by allowing them to capture the objectives and track them in an application as it is being built out. It gives them complete traceability from formulation to go live. Once the business objectives are defined, Pega 7 allows business users to identify their requirements and introduce them in the system. They can then work with their IT partner to solution these requirements in the form of use cases or user stories directly in the system. For example, when an application is being created in Pega by a bank, as a first step, the business objects that need to be met by the application are captured by the business analyst. The objective of the application could be to reduce the savings account onboarding time, and these objects are tagged to the requirements and the specifications which are created as per the business needs. When the IT team starts building the client onboarding application, they tag these specifications to the rules being created by them, leading the complete traceability. While the business and IT teams work towards building the solution to meet the business objectives, Pega 7 allows them to create the solution in the form of reusable assets. These assets can be structured as per business needs based on their regions of operation, product offerings, etc. These assets are created in the form of what is called as a situational layer cake. Let us take an example. What do you mean by situational layer cake? In the previous example of the bank that we have talked about, if the bank has different onboarding needs for a customer from different states of the country, they can create a specialized layer for each state on the top of their enterprise layer, which holds the common process or a common functionality. Innovating and continuous evolving is the need of the hour in today's business, and this is where all business processes are nowadays. As an innovative product, Pega 7 helps the business to focus on continuous innovation in the business process. Another important component, now many customers are looking at as a main business focus that cannot be overlooked, is change and agility. It is a very important theme to be considered in business to cope with the market trends. Pega 7 and its methodology, Smart BPM, always has a focus on change and agility part of the business. For example, in the previous situation of onboarding a savings bank account applicant or a customer, if there is a government regulations have compelled the bank to change the Know Your Customer norms, KYC, with Pega 7, they can quickly make the required changes to the process and roll it out to the production to meet the government set deadlines. And the rollout based on a date can also be automated by using something called circumstance in Pega. So there are 5 basic important components that we have discussed for a business focus, and we can't ignore any of these while automating the business processes. And we believe now Pega 7 is enhanced for delivering best implementations in BPM. Continuation to ROI for business, slide number 4. Let me bring 4 important business focus points, that is business objectives and requirements, and also let me tell that most often objectives are measurable. KPIs, key performance indicators, are required to plan for the growth of business revenue. Pega 7 has a facilitate the KPI with different tools which we will explore in this webinar session. Improve operational efficiency. Pega 7 helps in cutting off operational development and the maintenance costs. Pega 7 allows this through Pega direct to capture of objective tools. Customer satisfaction is another objective. The ultimate requirement of any business is customer satisfaction, and this can be achieved by Pega 7 with giving unrivaled experience using Pega 7 application. business user will have now same experience of using the application in any gadget of any resolution. You will get easy navigation and UI responsiveness in Pega 7 applications. Another business objective is complete visibility and control of requirements is what every business wants, but it fails to achieve because of technology or product limitations. But Pega 7 addresses these areas by providing traceability from objectives to requirements and to the specifications and to the rules used to implement the solution or an application. Providing complete traceability and visibility of the business objectives and requirements. Making requirements operational is the first step, and making them automated is the next ultimate step. Now using Pega 7 DCO, business and IT can communicate on a common platform in common terminology, helps in collaborating to implement the given business requirements. Business assets can now be easily maintained and monitored. Components of the business application being built should be reusable, scalable, specialized, and specific to the context of the end customer. Business needs to treat customers uniquely based on a particular set of criteria. For example, customer lifetime value, customer expenditure, etc. Pega 7 can provide the context and specific solution for their customer segments or their lines of business. So by using Pega 7, enterprises can easily reuse and specialize their business assets. There is a proverb in software industry, the constant thing is change. Business has to be quick to respond to the change, and business will be quick to adapt to the change. Here comes Pega 7 with much more agility to respond and adopt the change that we will see with the Pega 7 features like enhanced data modeling and enriched integration with external systems. To handle alternative actions in the context of customer interaction, Pega provides a feature called Next Best Action. Providing next best offer to the customer and taking the next best action for the customer involves a lot of adaptive and predictive analytics. A proper data mining is required once we have the data. Now, this is part of Pega suite with the Decision Strategy Management DSM. Pega allows querying the historical transactions, customer interactions, and their demographic information to suggest alternative actions, next best offer to the customer within the process of interacting with the customer or addressing their request. Now I'm moving on to the slide 5, a true return on investment for a business point of view. The real ROI for business in Pega 7 is, it comes with omni-channel experience. A Pega 7 application can be developed once and be used on any device, any gadget of any screen resolution without any modification of the rules. Pega 7 now provides a flat UI. It now supports HTML5 and the CSS3 and also provides cross-browser support. Next important features of Pega 7 is high availability. We know the importance of having high available application to the end user, 24/7, 365 days. Minimizing downtime was always a challenging task for the production deployment teams. Now, all these problems are solved with high availability feature of Pega 7. It is almost zero downtime in planned outage of production systems. And even in unplanned outage, Pega 7 along with the load balancer helps in minimal loss to zero loss. At a high level, we have looked at how ROI can be improved by business using the core features of Pega provides, like improved DCO, UI changes, high availability, traceability, agility, etc. To further explain on these new features, I would invite Venkat to take over. Venkat?
Thanks, Gauri. Good afternoon, everyone. So, Gauri has given an overview of what are the good features that are there on Pega 7. So we will pick up a few of these features and try to cover in the next few minutes. Okay. So, I will start with Federated case management. So, Pega 7 has come up with this feature of Federated case management. So, instances where customers have more than one Pega application to manage different end user needs, there could be different instances of these applications set up in the client's context. So until now, they could have been running in an isolated manner. What Pega 7 offers is, going forward, clients can connect these individual applications and ensure that the case information or the process information about those cases is visible across other instances. So quickly to run through what are these features. So as we know, from 6.3 onwards, whatever applications are built can be connected to another application using this case management features. So Federated case management feature. So what it does is it persists the case information and the customer information into a central repository called Federated case management repository, and the other nodes are connected to this SCMR. So when the agent who is working on a secondary node wants to look at what are the other cases related to these customers which are being worked upon by other departments, he has a clear view now of the cases. He can pick up those cases and process on behalf of the other department. So this provides a 360 view of the end customer to the agent who is working using Pega, and also it offers them the flexibility to work on the cases created by some other instance. So this is what Federated case management has to offer in Pega 7. Okay. We will move on to the other feature, another important feature called stage-based case management. We will look at stage-based case management in the context of DCO. What happens is typically when you gather requirements from a customer, it would be easier if you are able to capture the requirements in the form of the work they do. So what Pega has done is the DCO tools which were existing in 6.x or earlier, they have revamped the tools that are there in DCO, and they have added stage-based case management. What happens here is, using stage-based case management, we can reflect the way the work progresses from different steps in their daily routine. For example, if you have a claim management solution, the first step would be intimation of a claim. Then you will have validation of the claim. Then you would have probably, honoring of the claim. Let's say these are the 3 high-level steps. So we represented the same way in our system. We will see more of it in our demo. And each of these stages can have different steps again. Okay, let's go to the next slide. We will see how this is done in DCO. Okay. So for those of you who are not aware of DCO, DCO is nothing but direct capture of objectives. It's a set of tools that Pega provides. Okay, and this is built using PRPC itself, Pega PRPC itself. So what are the phases that DCO can be used? Well, it can be used across all the phases of the project. And who are the people who should be using it? The DAs can use it to capture the requirements and roll it out to the development team for them to participate in the design and further build the solution and test it. The system architects can use it to design it and build the application. LSAs use it to make the class structure design, create the application, etc. Project managers can use it to size the application and plan their activities. Okay, so pretty much everyone who is involved in a project delivery life cycle can use DCO. Okay, so what are the features that DCO provides and how can they be employed across different phases of the project? So while in inception phase, we can create an application for a customer. So we start off, any application starts off with knowing what does the business want to do in terms of business objectives. So these business objectives are captured when the application is created, and within the application we capture these objectives. We go ahead and capture the case types. Case types are nothing but the basic unit of work that you want to perform. Okay, so this case type is captured and then it is elaborated using the specifications, which are alternatively called as use cases or user stories. Okay, so once we capture the specifications, this is given to this will be used by project managers to size the application, or we can run it through a wizard called application documentation wizard, which generates application profile document, and it can be used to get a sign off on the requirements that we have captured from the business. So how is it different from Pega 6? Whatever we have in 7 was also there in 6. So how is it different? So Pega 6 had to offer application profile, application accelerators, application express. So we have application accelerator here, using which we create the application. We don't have to do the application profile, it does not exist anymore in Pega 7. So we start off with application accelerator, we create the application, then we start capturing the work types and in the form of state-based case management, and then we go ahead to do project sizing and planning. Post that, we do the elaboration of the work types and then go ahead for the development. So if you see, they have tried to structure it around application accelerator, case management tools in Pega 7. So that's the highlight of the changes which happened in Pega 7. So let's move on to the case life cycle management and how do we define cases in DCO of Pega 7. So as we discussed earlier, the requirements can be captured in the form of stages and steps. So when you have a case type to be captured in our system, we typically can divide the actions that are performed in the case type into broader aspects called stages. If I go back to my insurance example, claim intimation by the customer is the first stage. Second stage is validating the claim, and the third stage is probably the honoring of the claim. So within each of these stages, there could be multiple steps. For example, if I pick up the intimation stage, we could the first step could be capture the intimation details. Second step could be capture details about the medical incidents, if any, that have happened in the intimation. The third step could be spin off a medical insurance case if it is if the intimation that we are processing is a motor insurance. So both are two different insurance cases. So a sub case can be created off from one of the steps of the stages. So briefly to cover, what stage-based case management allows is, it allows us to create stages that broadly reflect the business steps that are happening in the real life. And each of these stages can be configured to automatically advance if you want to do a straight-through processing, or a human intervention can be introduced if a human has to decide or provide some information in one of those steps. Okay, and within each of these stages that you see in the example on the screen, the blue ones are the stages and the gray ones below are the steps. So within these stages, you can have multiple steps, and each of those steps can be run in parallel. So for instance, when in the example that we took earlier, insurance example, we mentioned that the motor insurance can trigger off a medical insurance claim. So we would want both of them to run in parallel. So we could create a case which is a sub-case from the main case, and both these cases could have their own independent life cycle, and they can be processed in parallel. Okay, and each of the steps can be a single action, or it can be split into multiple actions. For instance, if I take the example of customer onboarding, typically if the customer is filling an application form, we would have a lot of data to gather. So we could have a screen flow wherein he fills 4 or 5 pages of information, and then that information is carried forth for processing. So each step where you gather the information can be split into multiple steps. Okay, so that's the flexibility which is given in Pega 7. And what can also happen is we can mark one of these phases, essentially the last phase, as the final phase, which means that we do not have any further stages. So this particular phase takes care of steps which will provide the status to the case, resolve the case. So this is not automatically done. We will have to configure the step to do it. We will see all these details in the demo that we'll be doing in the next few minutes. Okay. So what do we cover in the demo? We will show you how DCO fits into in the Pega 7 context. We will try and use stage-based case management, and we will also show you how data modeling is done. So to show you the demo, I'll invite Shivram to take over. Shivram, please.
Yeah, thanks, Venkat. Thanks, Gauri, for setting the context for demonstration of Pega 7 features. So, good afternoon, audience. So we start with Pega 7 demonstration. So yes, this is the Pega 7's new login screen. You are seeing here Pega 7.1.5 version, the latest version available. So I'll log in with some of my credentials. So this is the new designer studio, what you are seeing here in the Pega 7. So we'll start with the DCO part. So as Venkat said you, so in DCO, application profiler and application accelerator tools of Pega 6 are deprecated. Now the complete application development starts with an application express, a single tool, and this is how we start the creation of new application. So by clicking on new application, so I click here and create new application. So here in now Pega 7, creation of new application is just a 4 steps. So very first step is provide an application details. So it is a mandatory here. So let us start building an insurance application. Let us say I'm building an insurance application. So I'm building it on Pega rules framework. So let us say I need framework and implementation. My organization is, let us say, Virtusa. So this is what the very first step information. Click on next. So here where we provide the business objectives. So this is the first step of DCO where we capture the business objectives. We define the business objectives here. So let us say I'm giving few business objectives here. The third one is the most important step here in the application development. So defining the case types. So let us say I'm defining a case type called motoring insurance. So we'll see how we can add a few more cases once application gets created. And this I'm going to the next step. So the next step is with the data object step. This is a new step added in Pega 7 where we can define the data objects here. So defining of the data objects is again in Pega 7 has given us an option to define data objects at different levels. It can be at the enterprise level or at the framework level or at the implementation level. And if you're building an application with a division and a unit level, then you'll see few more values in this drop down defining the divisions and the units. So let us say I have a data object called customer at enterprise level. So by this it is creating a data object for me at an enterprise level called customer. So creation of class and all these things, it takes care. So now I click on create button. Now Pega application gets created. So this is a very fast and easiest way of creation of application in Pega 7. And when compared to Pega 6, where we used to freeze the objectives, requirements, specifications by using application profiler, but now we have created a skeleton of Pega 7 application. Then we start feeding, identifying, defining the requirements and specifications. So this is now, we got an insurance application created instantly by using application Express. So the screen you are seeing here is an application overview screen. So if you see on the right hand side, you have links where you can specify the requirements and specifications of an application. So on the left side, you see left navigation panel, you see the new explorers added here, the case explorer to show you all the case types available in your application. Below that, you will see a data explorer which shows all the data objects in your application. Then next comes the App Explorer. App Explorer is an enhanced application explorer of Pega 6.x. Then comes a Record Explorer, where you see it is a replacement of Rules Explorer, where you see all the rules of your application. Then Cache Explorer is deprecated in Pega 7.x, and here we have 5.8, which shows your checked out rules, and the favorite is your favorite rules, which are your rules. Now, let us start defining the specifications in Pega 7. So here on the right hand side, you see a link called specifications. So where we specify where we can create the specifications. So I have an option of creating the specifications here. Click create specification. So in this window, where we are associating our specifications with the application name. At the same time, we also associate our specifications with the case type. And the rule set versions. Then comes giving the description of your specifications. Let us say this is a specification 1. So then below that you see the status. So where it indicates the status of your specification, the implementation status of your specification. Then comes the selection of type. So this you see a big list of types, a enhanced list in Pega 7, which actual Pega 6.x was limited just for the human-based integrations of process and automated. But now you see your specification can be of many types, which are required for any business process like alternate path, correspondence, decision, entire flow, primary path, report, starting screen. So these are the new enhancements in Pega 7. Again, comes to the complexity. Complexity defined as 3 levels: low, medium, high. So this defining of complexity again affects in your project sizing and estimations. So I start with writing a sample specification here. When you scroll down, you see an option of attaching the supporting documents to your specifications. Then again, we can move into the advanced where we can specify the post and preconditions and subject matter expert comments, subject matter expert valuable comments for your specifications. Acceptance criteria is where you specify what is required acceptance criteria for the specifications. So access attached to it. Then coming to requirements, it's a requirements. So as of now, we have not defined any requirements. So let us see that how the requirements are mapped to a specification. So you see one more tab here in implementation. So as of now, we are starting with a new application. So we don't have any implementations as of now to associate our specification with the implementation. So this is how we define a specification. So now we have created one specification. So we created one specification. You have an option of exporting this to an Excel sheet or importing from Excel. Suppose you have any legacy systems where you have specifications captured in an Excel sheet, the Excel sheet specifications can be easily imported into Pega 7. So again, coming to the requirement tab, so we see the requirement tab also same as adding of specifications. So where you can define the requirements, you can write in detail about the requirements and define the status for the requirement, and you can associate that requirement to an implementation. So that is what adding of specifications and requirements to a Pega application. So once the requirements and specifications are added to a Pega application, then we start with defining the stages in the case. So I'm going to Case Explorer. In Case Explorer, I selected the motor insurance case, which we have defined first. So this motor insurance case shows a case designer gadget where you see a default 3 stages. So as Venkat rightly said, stages are nothing but you are dividing and complete application process into proper stages where each stage defines an objective, or it can be a specification. You can associate an objective or a specification to every stage, and every stage is an high-level division or of an process. Then every stage contains the steps in it. So as discussed by Venkat, so we start defining the stages of an insurance. That is, creating first stage is intimation. Second stage is validation, and third stage is like honoring the claim. Honoring claim. Okay. So let us say these are the stages. So now these are the primary stages or the primary part in the stage-based case management. So what if I want to have an alternate stage? What if I'm not honoring the claim or rejecting the claim? What to do that? So we have an option of adding an alternate stages here. On the top right corner, you see an action drop down. In the action drop down, we have an option of adding the alternate stage. So you click on this alternate stage. You see an orange stage is added here. So let us say this orange stage is alternate stage is named as reject claim. So now, so we have a primary path now, a primary stage path, then an alternate path now for our insurance application. So we have identified our stages. As a best practice of Pega 7, it is recommended that your application should not have more than 7 plus or minus 2 stages, and every stage should not have more than 7 plus or minus 2 steps in it. So let us start defining steps in every stage. Let us say enter details is my first intimation. In intimation, this is the first stage. So capture, incident is my second step. For the intimation, then I'm coming to the validation. In the validation, let us say I'm validating the incident. So manager is validating, let us say I say it as manager validate. And as it is a main, so let us say we start with even in validation, we start with a medical case. So let us say an insurance has another sub-process or another case to be created. Let us say that is a medical case. So honoring is nothing but let us say it is wrap-up. Okay. And in rejection, we have a step called reject. So this is a simple insurance application we are building as part of this demonstration. So in this motor insurance application, we define different stages in this motor insurance application, which was not possible in earlier Pegasus.x applications. But from Pega 7, we started with stage-based case management. All the process is divided into stages. Every stage is again into steps, and the stages again can be a primary stage or can be an alternate stage. Now every stage has steps in it. Now let us see how we define, how we configure stages. So configuration of the stage is again has different options here. So we can skip this stage based on some when conditions. Even you can define an SLA for every stage. So this is a very good addition to Pega 7. Like every stage has a bond SLA. So crossing of SLA again can get into an escalation activities, or again you can call any other escalation rule on every stage. Again you can make every stage as a resolution stage, like you have yes or no radio buttons. Then when all stages are completed, what to do? So transition to the next stage or stay in the current stage. So generally you see an arrow mark indicating at every stage. So it indicates that after completion it moves to the next stage automatically. After completion of all steps in it, it moves automatically to the next stage. But still we have an option of staying in the current stage, so that we want to do a manual transition from one stage to another stage. We see some interesting additions in Pega 7 that at every stage you can add an optional process. Like every stage can have some optional sub-processes. You can call the sub-processes at a required point. Let us say if I'm talking about an intimation stage in my motor insurance, at the stage I want to have an alternate process called third-party verification. So if I want, I can initiate third-party verification as an optional process. I can keep that as an optional process, and if I require, I can initiate the third-party verification. Then below that, you see an option called optional actions. So these are the optional flow actions which you can add at a stage level. So if you all remember, like in Pega 6.x, we used to have alternate flow actions at the assignment levels, but now you can have an alternate flow actions at the stage level. So this is all what we can configure at a stage. So once we complete the configuration of a stage, then we move to the configuration of a step. So this is the configuration of a step. We can configure the step behavior. So again, a good number of enhancements at every step. So very first part you see here is you are associating your step with a specification. This helps us of easy tracking of all your specifications, and this is what enhanced DCO in Pega 7. At every step you are associating a specification. If required, you can create a new specification here, and you can associate with the existing specification. It helps in the traceability of specifications. So below that you see a step type. Now every step can be a single assignment, or it can be a multi-step assignment, or it can be a case. Or you can use an approval set. Approval is here, out of box step here. You can use an approval step or multi-step process or case. Now, after that, so when we are configuring the step, so you have an option of making the step to be executed as soon as I enter into the stage, or I can place some when condition on it. So if the when condition is true, if when condition is satisfied, then only the step in that stage gets executed. Otherwise, the step gets skipped, and automatically it translates to the next following immediate step. You see a radio button below that, launch on re-entry. So this launch on re-entry checkbox will help when we come back to this stage as part of our process. Let us say your process demands to come back to a particular previous stage in your application. Then when I come back to a particular stage, while we come back in a particular stage, sometimes we may not need to execute every step in the stage. Only the steps which has the checkbox selected, only that steps gets executed when we re-enter into this stage as part of our business process. So this is a step configuration. So this I am showing you the first step configuration. A little different screen you see when I go into the second step configuration. So now I am showing you the screen of second step configuration. A little difference you see here is you have now here two radio buttons. One is upon stage entry, other radio button is upon completion or skip of previous step. What does it mean is, by default, anyhow the first step is a step which is executed as soon as we enter into the stage. But suppose my business process demands two steps to be executed in parallel when I enter into the stage. Let us say when I intimation stage enters, entering details and capturing incident. Two steps should be executed in parallel. So the same applicant is entering the details and your staff, the incident staff, is capturing the incident details. So I want these two steps to be executed in parallel. Then I can go and select this ready button. Then I click on OK. Then you see a blue parallel line on this step. It indicates that now enter details and capture incident, two steps run in parallel when I enter into the intimation stage. So that we understood about the step configuration. So what we have seen is stage configuration as well as step configuration. Now third configuration is process configuration, how the process can be configured in Pega 7. So as you take your mouse pointer and hover below the steps, you see a link called configure process details. Now we click on the configure process details. So now in the configure process details screen you are seeing here, so when I say enter details, so the right side you see a properties window. Very first part is again associating your step with a specification. We have seen association of stages, association of steps now, again processes with specifications. Every point in Pega 7, every rule, every point, every action is associated with a specification which helps an easy traceability. And you see here an assignment properties window where we can define the assignments. So as you know, every assignment will have a flow action associated with it. So when I click on configure form, Pega takes care of creating all the required rules for the step. Let us say I'm creating one property called test property and I click on OK. So you'll see an interesting things created here. A flow action is created, a section is created, a property is created, and proper UI design is done. So these all done in single mouse click. Just I clicked on configure form and you see a flow action is created. Just you can click on this magnifier glass to see that a flow action is created. And even you can see a enhanced revamp flow action screen here, and you see a section is created. I click on this magnifier glass to show you that the section is also created automatically. And here you see that even the section has a property automatically placed on it. So this is all done just with a single click configuring process. So I done this from my case designer gadget. If you remember, I'm going back to my case designer gadget, motor insurance case designer gadget, where I selected the step, and that I specified the configure form. I have specified just the property name. Pega has taken care of creating the flow actions, sections, and properties properly placed, and they are used properly. UI is created, and they have used HTML5 and CSS3 for proper UI responsiveness. So that is, and now I'm saving this and going back to my stages. So this is a little bit introduction about stage-based case management. So we'll talk about a data modeling here. Data modeling, the most important thing we have to talk about the data modeling is introduction of data pages in Pega 7. So now the data pages is an enhanced declare page of Pega 6.x. Enhanced declare page of Pega 6.x. So we should start with D here. Let us say I'm saying test. I'm creating a data page. So data page is created here. So let me tell you an interesting thing here in the data page. Very first most enhancements in data page you see here is we can add n number of data sources to your data page. Earlier we were restricted to adding only a single data source, but now you have an option of adding new source. So like this, you can go on adding the new sources, and every source is properly having when rule. So based on the when condition, so Pega will automatically pick the required data source. And even the data source now can be a connector, and you can define the connector as a data source for your application. And for the unit testing purpose, you see here in the top right corner a simulated data source checkbox where you can simulate it. An interesting addition you see here in Pega 7 is that if your type is a page list, you have an option of keyed page access, so you can keep the page or declare page, and you can retrieve the data, just required data from the declare page. One more addition you see here is the parameter tab for your declare page, where you can define, you can send the parameters for your data page, and based on the parameters also you can filter the data on the data page. So this is a few additions. As a time constraint, like we may not be demonstrating the complete data page, but yes, so we are open for the questions. The forum is open for the questions now.
Thanks for the insightful presentation. Let's quickly take up the questions now. As you have just mentioned, I request you to read out the questions and their answers so that all our users may listen to your insights. Are you able to see the questions coming into you, Gauri?
Yeah.
So we have one question called what benchmarks does Pega 7 meet? So this question is so generic. I think if we have a detail like looking for what kind of benchmarks, so if the benchmarks related to the performance, or if benchmarks related to the scalability, or benchmarks related to the memory management. So based on this, I think we have to answer this. But better, I think, if you can send a detailed. So if we talk about the performance, yeah, as the Pega 7 has come up with the data pages and the performance is increasing around 50% when compared to Pega 6.x. And if you're talking about the benchmark on the memory management and rules generations, so it is around 200% increment in the generation of rules when we use application accelerator for the connector generations. And if you talk about UI part, like we have benchmark of rendering the screen in around 30% faster than the Pega 6.x. We have cross-browse compatibility. So these are the 3 different benchmarks which we can discuss. So if the audience has any specific question on the benchmark, like I think we can answer again. So we have next is how we can create a subcase in Pega 7. So creation of subcase is very easy in Pega 7 now. Let me show. So let me show you how we can create a subcase. So go to the Case Explorer. So in the drop down of your case, select an option. Select an option. Of adding the case. So you can add a new case, or you can use an existing case as subcase for your motor insurance, or just you can create a supporting process for your motor insurance. So this is how we create a subcase in Pega 7. So next question is what is the average time for an implementation? So average time for an implementation. So it depends, like in a medium core project, I think it is with 12 weeks. Yeah. So medium core project is 12 weeks of one iteration. One iteration. So the next question is about uses of data pages. So as Pega 7 recommends to use data page at every point, like data pages can be used as a data source for your UI, can be used as a source for your property event database. So let me show you a property created here. So let us say I'm creating a test page property. I'm making it as a page list. Now, interesting things you see here is data access radio buttons here. Manual, refer to database, copy to database. The manual radio button indicates the functionality which Pega 6.x used to provide. And the new 2 radio buttons, refer and copy data page, indicates the new enhanced functionality in Pega 7, where you are mapping a property to a database directly. So we have 2 options, refer and copy. Refer is a dynamic mapping of your page to a data page, so that whenever you refer this page, it retrieves a very fresh data from the data page. But if you select the radio button copy, it means that it makes a copy of that data page into the test page and goes on using that. So one is dynamic reference, one is a static reference for your data pages. So this is the use of data pages in Pega 7. Let us take the new question.
Due to time constraint, I have to request you to take the unanswered questions offline, which I will share with you through email. So there are few more questions coming in. Would you like to sum up the session now?
Yeah. We will address those questions maybe offline, Aradhana. And thanks everyone joining for the TechGig webinar. And thanks to Aradhana for moderating this webinar between lecturers and the participants. So we will look at all the questions once again and will respond through TechGig website.
Really thankful to our guest speakers today for conducting this wonderful webinar. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgig.com by tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Gauri, for taking the time out and having us. I hope you have a great evening ahead.
Thank you, Aruna. Have a good day to you.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye-bye.